I recently found myself in a wild standoff that pitted my private property against a power-tripping HOA and a couple of fake cops who thought they could intimidate me into submission. What started as a few annoying letters exploded into a full-blown battle, complete with trespassing, threats, and a courtroom showdown that left jaws on the floor. Let me take you through it from the start. This is a story you won't believe. It all kicked off when I found a letter jammed in my mailbox, stamped with a shiny HOA logo. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but here's the kicker. I've never been part of an HOA. In the 20 years I've lived on this land, I've never signed a contract, agreed to rules, or had any issues. So why was I getting a notice from a homeowners association I didn't belong to? I tore it open, and the nonsense inside made me laugh. Dear homeowner, as part of the HOA community, your property is subject to our standards. Violations include unapproved fencing, failure to maintain HOA-approved landscaping, and unauthorized vehicle parking. Fix these within 30 days or face fines. I couldn't believe it. This was my land, not their gated fantasy land. So, I did what any sensible person would do. I crumpled it up and tossed it in the trash. Case closed, right? Wrong. 2 days later, I spotted 3 people in crisp shirts, clutching clipboards, standing at the edge of my driveway. I stepped onto my porch, coffee in hand, my rifle resting casually against the railing, and sized them up. The woman leading the pack, short, brunette, with a smug grin, spoke first. Good morning, sir. I'm Karen Thompson, president of the HOA. We're here to evaluate your property. I raised an eyebrow. Evaluate for what? Karen's smile tightened, like she was talking to a toddler. Well, now that your land falls within HOA boundaries, we need to ensure it meets our standards. I blinked. Since when is my land in your HOA? She beamed. We voted last month to incorporate this area into the community. It's a great opportunity. I held up a hand. Let me stop you right there. My property isn't part of your HOA. I never signed anything. Karen's smile faltered. Unfortunately, the board has already decided. I laughed. Lady, you can't just vote to take my land. One of her clipboard minions, a lanky guy named Steve, piped up. Technically, the HOA has jurisdiction over all properties in the community boundary. I leaned in. And technically, you're trespassing on private property. Karen's face twitched. I don't think you understand how this works, she snapped, folding her arms. We have the authority to enforce regulations. I pointed to my mailbox. See that address? Does it say HOA anywhere? Silence. I pointed to my gate. See that no trespassing sign? That means you. More silence. Karen sighed dramatically, like I was the unreasonable one. Mr. Daniels, we want to work with you, she said, forcing a smile. But if you refuse to comply, we'll take legal action. I grinned. Can't wait to see how that goes. Her eye twitched, and she stormed off with her crew, whispering and glaring like I was some kind of outlaw. I figured that was the end of it. I was dead wrong. The next morning, I woke up to HOA violation notices plastered on my fence. A few nights later, my new security cameras caught them sneaking onto my land at 2 a.m. That's when I knew Karen wasn't messing around. She was escalating, and fast. After I shut down their evaluation, the notices kept coming. Dozens of them, claiming I was violating their rules for my fence, my backyard, even parking my own truck in my own driveway. I was floored. How could an HOA find someone who wasn't even a member? I called the county property office, checked my deed, and confirmed what I already knew. My land was not in their HOA. I thought that would settle it, but when I called Karen and told her, politely, mind you, that she had no authority, she just smirked. We've documented your noncompliance, she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. If you don't follow the rules, we'll escalate legally. I took a deep breath. Karen, you've got no legal ground to stand on. Silence. Then, that smirk again. We'll see about that. She hung up. That night, I installed top-notch security cameras, motion-activated, night vision, the works. 3 nights later, at 2:34 a.m., my alerts went off. I checked the feed, and there they were. Karen's HOA goons, flashlights in hand, measuring my property and marking things down. They were planning something big, and I wasn't about to let them get away with it. But the real bombshell came a week later when 2 guys in black tactical vests showed up at my door, badges clipped to their belts. with HOA security enforcement printed in bold. One of them, a stocky guy named Mike, stepped forward. Robert Daniels? I didn't answer, just stared over my coffee mug. The other guy, a skinny dude named Tim, cleared his throat. Sir, you're in violation of HOA regulations and have ignored legal notices. We're authorized to detain you until you agree to a compliance hearing. I set my mug down. Detain me. Mike nodded. If you refuse, we'll escalate to law enforcement. I stood up, stepping closer. Which department do you work for? They glanced at each other. Tim adjusted his notepad. We're contracted security under the HOA. I nodded. So, not real cops. Mike's jaw tightened. Sir, you're required to comply with HOA rules. I folded my arms. I'm not in your HOA. My land is private, and you're trespassing. Tim frowned. That's not how this works. I smirked. It's exactly how it works. Get off my property, or I'll let the real police explain it. Mike laughed. We'll call them ourselves. I nodded. Great idea. I grabbed my phone, dialed the sheriff's office, and put it on speaker. Yeah, I've got 2 guys on my property impersonating law enforcement, threatening to detain me. Send someone over. Mike tensed. Tim stepped back. Sir, I held up a finger. They're wearing vests that say HOA security enforcement. No real authority. Might want to check them out. 15 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up. Deputy Larson, a no-nonsense guy, took one look at Mike and Tim and shook his head. What the hell is this? I gestured. They say they're here to detain me for HOA violations. Larson snorted. Is that right? Mike straightened. We're private security under HOA authority. Larson folded his arms. Funny, because HOAs aren't government agencies. You can't arrest people. Tim muttered. It's just compliance enforcement. Larson cut him off. No, it's impersonating law enforcement, a crime. Mike swallowed. We were just following orders from the HOA board. Larson nodded. Well, you're following me to the station now. Hands where I can see them. They paled as Larson cuffed them. That's when Karen pulled up, just in time to see her goons stuffed into the cruiser. She stormed over. This is outrageous. They were doing their jobs. Larson sighed. Ma'am, their job just got them charged with trespassing, harassment, and impersonating officers. Want to join them? Karen's mouth snapped shut. I stepped closer. I told you to stay off my land, Karen. She glared. This isn't over. I smiled. Oh, I know. Because now I'm taking you to court. Karen stood there, fuming, as her fake cops were hauled away. She thought she was untouchable, but she'd just lit the fuse on her own downfall. A week later, I got a court summons. The HOA was suing me, claiming I was a public nuisance and demanding my land be annexed into their control. I laughed out loud. If Karen wanted a fight, she'd get one. I called my lawyer, Tom, a pit bull who loved tearing apart shady HOAs. He read the complaint and grinned. This is going to be fun. 2 weeks later, we walked into court. Karen sat at the plaintiff's table, smug beside her flashy lawyer. She didn't even glance at me. She thought she'd already won. Then the judge, a sharp woman named Ellis, took her seat. She skimmed the file and sighed. Let's make this quick. Karen's lawyer stood. Your Honor, the HOA has worked tirelessly to maintain community integrity, but Mr. Daniels has caused distress by refusing to comply. Ellis raised an eyebrow. Does Mr. Daniels live in the HOA? Karen sat taller. His property is within our expanded boundaries. Ellis turned to me. I slid over a stack of papers. Here's my deed, proving my land was never in the HOA. And here's a county zoning map showing it's separate from their development. Karen's smile twitched. Her lawyer coughed. That may be true, but the HOA voted to expand jurisdiction. Ellis cut him off. HOAs can't just take private property. That's not how the law works. Karen's face reddened. Ellis turned to me. Any counterclaims, Mr. Daniels? I grinned. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to sue for harassment, trespassing, and a frivolous lawsuit. I pulled out my evidence, security footage of Karen's board sneaking onto my land, videos of her fake cops threatening me, police reports about her unlicensed security. Ellis watched it all, then rubbed her temples. Mrs. Thompson, this is the most absurd case I've ever seen. Karen opened her mouth, but Ellis shut her down. You have no claim over Mr. Daniels' land. You can't fine him, enforce rules, or send fake cops to intimidate him. Turning to me, she said, "I'm granting your counterclaim for harassment, trespassing, and emotional distress. The HOA will pay all legal fees and $50,000 in damages." She banged the gavel. Case dismissed. Karen sat there, stunned. Her board members in the gallery whispered furiously. I walked out, knowing this wasn't the end. I was going to make sure the HOA felt this for years. With my $50,000 settlement, I bought a 12-foot billboard and planted it right at the HOA's pristine entrance. It read, "Attention HOA, this land is not yours. Stay off. Robert Daniels." I even slapped their logo on it for extra sting. The second it went up, my phone blew up with angry calls and emails from the HOA, demanding I remove it. I sent them my lawyer's number and forwarded their complaints to the city, who confirmed the sign was legal. Karen lost it. She called an emergency HOA meeting, but with the lawsuit losses, legal fees, and their failed land grab, they were broke. They couldn't fight me anymore. Karen resigned in disgrace. Her little empire collapsed. A few months later, I saw a moving truck at her house. She was gone. I sat on my porch, sipped my coffee, and watched her drive away for good. My land, my rules. What do you think? Was I too harsh with that billboard, or did the HOA deserve it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. And what about playing pranks in disputes like this? Is it a bold move or crossing the line? Let's get this debate going.